On September 18, 2023, the Wall Street Journal put out a list ranking universities across the United States for having the best value. And in the top 10 spots, you'll hear some pretty familiar names: MIT, UCLA, Stanford, Princeton, Columbia. But in the number one spot, we have a school that I bet most of you have never heard of. It's actually the school that I go to, Baruch College. So you might be wondering, how does this random school in the middle of New York beat some of the top universities in the country? And the answer to this question is pretty interesting. What the Wall Street Journal did is they took the average cost of tuition at each school and then compared the average salaries that the school's graduates made 10 years after graduation. And from that, they calculated how long it would take to pay the degree off based on that salary. And the result showed that on average, a degree at Baruch could be paid off in about 2 months. Part of this has to do with the fact that our tuition is pretty cheap compared to a lot of schools at around $7,000 a year for in-state students and around $15,000 for out-of-state. But this study also found that we typically earned around $45,000 above the median salary after 10 years of work. So what do I think about this rating? Well, 4 years ago when I was trying to decide where I wanted to go to school, I was really adamant about wanting to be in New York. Part of this was just for the fact that I loved the city and I thought going to school here would be such a unique experience, but also I really believed there was a huge advantage that I would have over students at other universities by going to Baruch. And that was the fact that as someone who wanted to go into finance, being in the financial capital of the world, I'd be able to get some of the best internship opportunities, not just in summer, but all year round. This was especially important for me because I didn't get into any of the more esteemed target schools for finance, which meant if I wanted to go into something like investment banking, for example, I was going to have to work for it. This means joining the right clubs, networking, and recruiting for internships all year round. And this is where Baruch has an advantage over almost every other university in the country. Being in New York, Baruch is in the perfect location for business majors who want to get real-world experience before they graduate, which isn't something you can say for many other schools in the US. A vast majority of students here are studying business, and almost everyone is on the grind looking for some sort of job or internship opportunity. The clubs and organizations at Baruch are what I think a lot of students here owe their success to. And I'm not talking about fun little clubs that meet once or twice a week to hang out. I'm talking about professional organizations that bust your ass to really prepare you for what's out there in the real world. A lot of these orgs are pretty selective. Some have acceptance rates under 10%, so just know you'll have to put in some work to get into them, and it doesn't get much easier after that. The other thing that sets Baruch apart from a lot of other schools is its network. So many students here get really good jobs right out of graduation, and a lot of them are willing to help others who are looking to go down a similar path. This is especially true if you get into some of those professional organizations I was talking about before, but it's definitely not limited to that. I've had so many classes where my professors actually worked at investment banks and would come in to teach part-time afterwards. I even had a few who would hire students from their classes if they could prove they knew their stuff. On top of this, Baruch has its own career development center where they help students prepare for interviews, host tons of professional events, and run a huge job listing site to help students get internships and full-time positions. Okay, so this might sound great and all, but what's it actually like to go here? Well, Baruch is a commuter school, which means most students don't live on campus. We have 3 main buildings, 2 that are for classes and 1 that's our library, and there's also a dorm that's around 10 to 15 minutes away by train. I will say if you want to get the typical American sort of college experience where everyone lives on campus, there's tons of school spirit, sports are a big thing, and overall there's a pretty social atmosphere, this might not be the school for you. Baruch doesn't have all the bells and whistles a lot of state schools have, and a lot of students complain about how antisocial it is here. It can be hard to make friends when everyone just shows up for class and goes home right after, but this doesn't paint the full picture. There are people here at Baruch that are social, but you have to know where to find them, and this is my biggest piece of advice I can give you if you end up coming here. You have to put yourself out there and join clubs if you want to make friends at Baruch. This is the best way to ensure you'll see the same people on a recurring basis and can actually get to know them on a deeper level. So as someone who's about to graduate, would I recommend coming here? Well, my answer is, it really just depends on what you want to get out of your college experience. If going to football games and frat parties is at the top of your list, probably not. But if you're someone who's interested in having a somewhat different college experience, one where you're not living on campus but instead in New York City, you're more focused on your career and you don't want to spend an arm and a leg on your education, Baruch might be for you. For me personally, I've really enjoyed my experience here. Living in New York has always been a dream of mine, and getting to do it while I was in college was a super unique experience. I've made so many amazing lifelong friends here, gotten some great professional opportunities, and overall, I feel like it was the right decision for me. 4 years ago, when I was trying to decide where I wanted to go to school, a lot of people I talked to were pretty skeptical of Baruch because it is just so different from most other universities in the US. A lot of people told me I should go to a school that was ranked better for business on the US News and World Report, but I'm so glad I didn't listen to them. In a way, having Baruch come out on the top of this list felt like a big FU to the people who tried to sway me against going here back in the day. But ultimately, you shouldn't let any one list be the main determinant of your future. You have to look at what fits you and your goals and make a decision that's in line with that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're considering going to school here at Baruch, I hope this helped you make your decision. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments section and I'll try to answer as many as I can. And until then, I will see you in the next one.